Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Ankle Sore. Today we have a very special guest joining us and we couldn't be more excited to introduce him. This man wears many hats and we're going to uncover all of them in today's episode. First and foremost, he's a local footy legend, having played for several clubs, leaving his mark on the sport. But that's not all. He's also a high performance tennis coach, having worked with some of the biggest names in the game, including Cara Black, the BRYAN brothers, and the Davis Cup captain Karan Rastogi. And if that wasn't impressive enough, he's also a VFL development coach with the Richmond Football Club, helping shape the next generation of AFL stars. So without further ado, please join us in welcoming the one and only Marc Sophoulis. We can't wait to dive into his background, his beginnings, and all the hats that he wears. Thanks for joining us today.
Marcus.
So good to be here, boys. I haven't been in this room for a little while.
Oh, yes.
It's been a fair time between drinks. But
some of the good old days.
Good to be back amongst friends, so looking forward to it.
Good to have you here, mate.
It's good to see facial hair here with no hair, clean beard and facial hair. You make it up beautifully.
I do, had to blend it all in, but I think we're all in the black, so
work nicely.
Hopefully people can see us.
Work nicely.
Well, we won't use any colourful language, so
yeah, that's it.
Everyone looks at me when it comes to that.
So, Marc, first of all, your background. Where'd you grow up?
Yeah, grew up in East Keilor, so it was my hunting ground. I played at the East Keilor Footy Club, which is, obviously it was down the road.
Cougars?
The Cougars, down the road from where I lived. And I was a St. Peter's primary school boy and grew up along there and then ended up at Essendon Keilor College at school. But, my whole life was sort of East Keilor, Avondale Heights and, never really ventured too far outside of there. So every time I look to go anywhere in life, I get lost. So
was footy or tennis your first thing? Like when you were a kid, what was in your head?
That's a good question. I think it was more tennis. Dad
really?
was a tennis player. He was a really good player, a local player, and got me into it. And I sort of went down to the courts with Dad and played there, and then ended up playing footy at East Keilor. I think I was 8. And one of my mates' dads was a coach down at East Keilor under 10s, and it was my first season. And I think we had about 45 players at that time, and we ended up winning a grand final. So that sort of fueled my love for footy as well. But it was a bit of a balance between the two. And I kind of went sort of tennis way and then through footy. But it was interesting journey.
But funny because you're still in both, really.
Yeah, and it's funny. I think we'll probably get to the story a little bit later on, but just sort of how it evolves, and you sort of think you're going in one direction, and then all of a sudden you take this sort of sharp turn, and you end up sort of doing a bit of both, and it was really interesting.
do you reckon it's just sometimes it's opportunities that takes you down that path?
Yeah, it is. And I actually got off the phone with a kid that I've been coaching for a long time. He's in the States at the moment playing college tennis, and I kind of said to him, he said, I've been really lucky and fortunate to end up where I am. I said, well, you create your own luck, right?
Yeah.
Like you sort of, I think in life,
Totally.
if you do the right thing, you work hard, you create good
Absolutely.
relationships and
For
connections
sure.
with people, that can take you anywhere. So I think like even growing up and where I did, just the people that I've been able to sort of become mates with over the time have actually helped me to get where I wanted to go as well. And not intentionally, it's just become, it's just become that way. So you make good friendships and connections that could end up.
Combination of friendships and luck sometimes gets you down the right pathway, or the pathway that you end up.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely, yeah. And I never thought I'd be in the position I'm in today. Like if I had a crystal ball, there's no chance you think all the things that I've been able to achieve and to be sitting here and, just enjoying the fruits of that, but just sort of being really grounded and grateful.
Before we go on to that, though, you and I have got one thing in common. We're both East Keilor, Avondale Heights boys, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Not going out of that comfort zone of East Keilor, Avondale Heights.
I bought a house in Avondale. I live next door to my sister, and my parents live down the road.
There you
so
go.
it's like we're still here.
We're the same. Grew up in Avondale.
Not going anywhere.
Not going anywhere.
Exactly.
It's like a true European family.
It's a little bit like Everybody Loves Raymond. Close the blinds a little bit when they want to come over.
Just throw them down.
So quickly, just how did you get into tennis coaching?
Yeah, it's a good question. Like, I wanted to be a player. That was my dream, was to play Grand Slams and travel the tour and do all that sort of stuff. And I started and ventured down that pathway, but never achieved what I wanted to as a player. And
Why was that? What?
Do you think you had the talent?
I think talent-wise, I did. I don't think I had the work ethic growing up. So,
Yeah.
like, the work I didn't put in between sort of 14 and 18, I reckon, really didn't help me.
Yeah.
So, you think that you can do it at some point, but it catches up with you, right? So, you're playing against seasoned athletes when you go and try and play pro, and then you're also playing guys that have probably been full-time for a long period of time.
Yeah.
So, like, they're doing 6 hours a day. I was at school doing maybe an hour or two a day.
Yeah.
And then for me to then go and try and play that, it was unrealistic looking back at it. And that was probably where it started, where I think the failure started, and then having lack of finances to be able to do what I wanted to do. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I tell the players I coach all the time, it costs about anywhere from 80 to 100 grand a year to do it properly.
It's such a common thing.
Yeah.
That 14 to 18-year-old gap is where
huge.
it's make or break
It's
for
so
professional
true.
It is.
careers.
You know what's
It
funny
is.
about that? I think we've all been down that road where
Yeah.
you're young
Yeah.
and you're good at a particular sport. Like
Yeah.
I know you were good at tennis, right? You're younger
Yeah.
as well. Like I know I was soccer orientated,
I was
no
footy.
doubt,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I know I had not been, but I had the ability. But again, same thing,
It's the same thing.
laziness.
Yeah.
You get to that age where you go, I just want to do different things, and then
Yeah.
you lose your way. I think.
It also comes down to, I think, these days, like back 20, 30 years ago, there wasn't the pathways.
Correct.
100%.
100%.
There was no Google. Like
Yeah.
now these kids can actually search up online and you can find out some pathways of people and get some information. I think when we were growing up, it was a little different. We were probably sheltered from all that.
Absolutely,
And you had to find your own way, and you kind of, you didn't know what you didn't know, right? So like I had no idea what to do until I sort of got out there and went, wow, I'm not good enough. And that was a big slap in the face because that was your dream and that was what you wanted to achieve. And it comes crashing down, right?
Yeah.
So, I played for 2 years, ended up doing my shoulder, and then I was like, well, why am I paying to play this game when I don't even think I'm going to cut it?
Yeah.
So I thought, you know what, I'm going to turn to tennis coaching, and I was already doing it anyway. I was doing it part-time with my coach at the time, Michael Barak, and he gave me a good part-time gig that sort of kept some money flowing. But, I turned to it. I didn't know if it was going to be a career, but I turned to it because it was all I had. It was all I knew. And I think it was with any sports people, we always do that. It's like you finish, what do I know? I know tennis. I didn't
That's
have a
right.
degree.
Yeah.
I didn't have anything else. And I was like, well, I have to go to what I'm comfortable doing. And that's where it started.
So having said that, when you were, say, coming out of primary school,
Yep.
did you have ambitions to be a fireman or a policeman or
No,
whatever? Or was
no.
it just straight out?
It was
I'm playing
actually, I wanted to be an elite sportsman. That was
Yep.
like,
So
it was
you had
either
that
footy or
dream right
tennis.
from the start.
Yeah, and it was hard because, well, when I was 13, and I say this to every kid that I coached, I said to myself and I said to my parents, I'm going to save up every bit of money that I ever make, whether that's through coaching, birthdays, Christmas,
Yeah.
Easter, and I put it in a bank account and I saved it up for the moment when I turned 18 to be able to play on the tour. And I knew what I wanted at that time. There was a time where I had to choose between tennis and footy, and that was the challenging one where I had a letter from the Calder Cannons sitting there to go attack cup, and then I had tennis sitting here, and I was like, Dad said, you've got to choose. It's starting to now collide. You have to choose a pathway.
Yeah.
And I actually chose tennis because coaching was a pathway. And I actually said to myself, there's no way I'll ever coach at AFL level. There's no way I'd be in an AFL club. There's only, at the time, 16 clubs. I'm never going to coach in the AFL. So there was no fallback for me, so I picked tennis as a fallback.
And fair enough.
Which was interesting. Like,
Yep.
and I look back at it now and it's bizarre. I was going 360 and I'm actually coaching in footy as well. So it's been an amazing journey.
So, just a quick question. You mentioned Michael Barak.
Yeah.
I remember me, you, and Vito spending New Year's at his house and watching. He forced us.
Yeah.
He forced us to watch tennis videos of him hitting with
On New
Ivan
Year's
Lendl. New Year's Eve. That
was hilarious.
that was a-
actually.
If I'm not
Funny
wrong,
night.
we actually played doubles on his court that
We
night.
did.
Yeah, probably.
Well,
Yeah, more than likely.
Obviously, Michael, who a massive name in tennis. Coach Maria Sharapova, Mark Philippou,
Yeah, huge.
Ivan Lendl's hitting partner, and for me, like he's been one of the biggest influences in my life, not just my tennis career, but just the way that he's been able to sort of just being in his environment created the ability for me to coach the way that I do because I had a role model in that. So the people you surround yourself with, you become.
Yeah, and I can vouch for him being a Australian tennis legend. Most of you people probably wouldn't have heard of Michael Barak, but I remember one year at the Australian Open, you were busy, and I was sitting there talking to Michael Barak, and literally everyone, Tony Roach,
Yeah.
any tennis player that was a tennis player would come and say hello to him,
Yeah.
and I'm like, And he just nonchalantly
of course.
brushed it off.
Yeah.
Just, oh, yeah, it's Roachy. But,
Yeah.
And I'm like, who are you, mate?
Unbelievable.
It is. It is like
When you think about it, he's a legend, but
a
not,
legend.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't act like one.
no, and that's what I think. What made me learn a lot about life is he's just so humble. And,
Yeah, he's very humble.
And
Yeah.
you don't get caught up in all of the bright lights and stuff like
And the
that.
hype.
It's just you know what it's what we do.
Yeah.
And it's sort of become that way of being. So yeah, he's a great role model.
Tell me about your tennis achievements early. What was your greatest, like, think back and go, gee, I really enjoyed that. That
Wow.
was really
I think the biggest one actually.
like a tournament
Yeah, I think
or a
the
big win or you've...
Yeah, I think early on, well, not early on, it's probably my year 12 year, we actually won the national championship. So the school national championships, which I think was, it was 1999 up on the Gold Coast, and I was a captain of the team.
Going to say
pretty
Kilowatts
cool.
wouldn't have one on...
Yeah.
Couldn't have a tennis court, would
So
they?
it was actually really cool. So we won it in that year, 1999, and now I'm coaching at Maribyrnong College as the head coach, and we just won our 5th title in 2022. And I actually said to the kids, every time, because it's a new bunch of kids that will play each year, I grab the trophy because we've got it, and I go, "That's the most important one there, 99." Right? So I'm sort of giving them that.
That's
you know,
awesome.
as in,
Yeah,
you know,
it's a bit of a-
as
yeah.
a player, I sort of have done this, and I'm here with you guys as a coach.
Yeah.
I sort of understand it, and if you need anything, you can come to me and ask. You know, so I
That's
understand
brilliant.
both sides of the story. And
Yeah.
it's been pretty cool.
And finally, clay, grass or hard?
Oh, God.
Well, I think the easiest answer for me is I can't rally, so put me on grass. It's the sharpest point. I'm not fit enough. So I think the sharper the point, the better. So grass is the one for me, and it's softer on the legs, mate. Now at this age, and with my
Yeah,
hips,
fair enough,
I'm
fair
playing on
enough.
grass.
Fair enough.
Just
Fair enough.
before you just on grass
Yeah.
is the surface has changed over. You know, like grass going back 20 years
Yeah.
ago to now.
Yeah.
You know, got soccer, got artificial pitches. I know there's
Yeah.
artificial tennis courts. But
Yeah, no, grass has slowed down a lot.
Okay.
And they've actually, I mean, the ATP and WTA have tried to slow the game down through different elements, whether
right.
it be courts being slower,
Right.
balls being slower. They want it to be more of a spectator sport. The average length of a rally in tennis is no more than 4 shots, right, for 70% of the time.
Yeah, that's true. When you
Right,
think
so
about
it's
it.
a really short, sharp game, and they want to lengthen it out. So they've actually tried to lengthen it out on grass and different events.
Right.
And look at Rafa. I mean, Rafa to win Wimbledon.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
you wouldn't have seen that, you know,
No.
20, 30 years ago. so
exactly.
the game's changed a
Didn't
little
suit
bit.
him at all.
Yeah, absolutely. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's definitely grass.
So what do you think about the women's game being 3 sets in the Grand Slam and the men's game being 5 sets, and yet they get paid the same amount?
Yeah, it's a tough one. Like, you know, I absolutely agree the fact that men and women should be paid as equal. Like, definitely. I think,
100%.
and I think that's the first thing. But I think at the same time, it should become, you know, the same, you know,
Yeah.
time frame. I mean, that's it's spoken about a lot in tennis circles, and I think it should go down that path. I don't know whether it would be women go to 5 or men come back down to 3. And you think about it, the Grand Slams of you know, the only tournament around the world is 5 sets.
Yeah.
So you think about that, and obviously Davis Cup was the same. But you think about that, and it's like, well, maybe we do bring it back to 3. I don't know the solution, and
Yeah.
I'm not. I mean, there's much smarter people than me to solve that
Yeah.
problem. But
What's your ideal game of tennis then? I know you said you don't know the solution,
Yeah.
but what's the ideal format?
You know, I love the 5 sets, and
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in history, and I love the fact that 5 sets brings out the best in people, and
Yeah.
also separates the best from the rest. And you look at Nadal, Federer, Djokovic, Serena. You know,
distance.
the best players go the distance.
Yeah.
100%.
And I think if you want to be the best in the world, you've got to be able to play the distance, and it's no different to AFL clubs. You want to play, be a good footy team. You can't play for half a game.
Yeah.
You got to play. For a
We know
quarter.
that.
It's half a
You know,
season
and
and it's final
Correct.
series. And
Right. So
yeah.
it's how you time things. It's how you
Yep.
make your runs. And I think, you know, definitely 5 sets I love watching, and you see epic battles, and that to me,
Yeah.
I think taking away the advantage 5th set really hurt me because
Yeah.
you saw,
Right.
you know, the Isner and Mahut, the massive.
Yeah, what was that?
Yeah.
I remember that. Was that the
72,
record?
70 or whatever it was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
the
record.
70, yeah.
Whatever it was, and it's a record of the longest match. Went over 4 days because of the rain delays and so forth. But that to me, everyone remembers those matches.
Absolutely,
You
I
don't-
do.
You don't
Yeah.
remember the straight sets, 2-2.
That's
or
right,
like,
you don't- yeah,
you remember
exactly.
those big
The
matches,
big
the
ones.
ones that make an impact on you. So yeah,
Because the frustrating part is you'll see a women's final go for 45 minutes and you'll see the men's final go for 4 hours, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, it's not, like you said, you use the word spectacle, right? It's
Yeah.
not a spectacle watching someone play 45 minutes, wiping someone off the court,
Yeah.
and then seeing others
yeah.
battle for 3 hours plus and,
Yeah.
you know, like call the trainer because they're, you know, dehydrated and all that sort of stuff. So,
But I think Mark's
Yeah,
right.
interesting.
What's the solution? Who's got the solution?
Yeah,
yeah.
and you know what? And much smarter people than me make
Exactly.
those decisions, and I sit there and I go, you know what? Whatever, as a coach, whatever comes to us,
Yeah.
we'll deal with it
Yeah,
at the time, and
absolutely.
you just got to deal with it. But I think equal pay is so important. I think I've got 3 girls of my own now, so
Yeah,
for me, it's like you look at it and go, yeah, fair enough. I think we
Yeah.
all deserve that if we do the same job or
Yeah.
right job.
Yeah,
I think we
absolutely,
deserve
100%
it.
agree.
But at the same time, I think it needs to be equal in terms of time frames and whatever else. So yeah, definitely, I think that down the track might be something that happens.
How fantastic was that? A little bit of tennis talk, but we're going to change the dialogue a little bit and we're going to go into footy and we're going to go to your Richmond career.
Yeah.
And how'd you land that job?
Oh, this is an interesting answer, and I don't know how many times I've been asked this question, but it's actually quite funny.
I'm going to interrupt you. When you landed the Richmond job,
Yeah.
give us a little bit of a spiel about that moment before where you said you had to make a decision.
Oh, yeah.
You had the call to cannons and you had, okay, so now go the footy path. Rolling into that.
Yeah, I guess when you you make a decision to say I'm going to go tennis, and then you put it all the eggs into that basket, and you know that I've given footy away. I'll never go back to footy. It's something that is now done. It's part of my life I can put behind me. And then you fast forward it, and I'll talk about it. I was 17 at the time, so it was about 9 years later. I'm sitting I was doing my high performance tennis Australia coaching course, level 3, last one that you can do, 26 years of age.
Massive.
And the last requirement is you've got to spend 10 hours at a sporting club.
Oh, here we
other than
go.
tennis.
Right.
So it was like, okay, cool. Well, I love footy. If I don't get to footy, I'll be frustrated. So I was like, okay. So I've sent emails everywhere. I actually met at North Melbourne. Donald McDonald was
Donald,
there.
yep.
I went down and met him and never heard back from him, which was fine. All good. And then I went down. I had a mate who knew someone at Richmond. It was actually Choco Royal at the time.
Yep.
So I thought, all right, I'll email Choco, and didn't get a response. I was like, gee, what do I do? I need this 10 hours to pass my course. I just need to get through it.
Yep.
It's the last thing I had to do. So anyway, I thought, you know what? I'm going to the city tomorrow. I'll go down to training. I saw it online. It was going to be at Richmond at a certain time. So I went down to training. I actually walked in, stood at the fence, and I watched training happen. Anyway, as they were coming off the ground, I thought, there's Choco. I'm going to grab him. So Choco's walking off, and I said, hey, Choco, my name's Mark. I actually sent you an email. I'm a friend of so-and-so. And he said, oh, yeah, I got your email. I was going to get back to you. I said, well, I'm here now. You can get back to me kind of thing now. So he sort of said to me, look, yeah, happy to have you on for 10 hours, no problem. Anyway, brought me into the club at the time, walked in there. Anyway, he said, okay, we'll meet you here tomorrow morning, whatever it was. Anyway, started the job. It's just work experience. So basically just hanging
Making
around.
coffee.
What were you doing?
Like a bad smell.
What were you doing? Just when you first got in
I was
there?
actually sitting in all of the individual player meetings. So like player with one-on-one with Choco. He was just watching some vision stuff.
Tremendous. That is
And
fantastic.
I'm standing in this. Like I'd never been to a footy club before like that. So I'm standing there, and Richo walks past, and you got these sort of guys, Nathan Brown, and people you watch on TV, like, wow, this is pretty cool, Anyway, so I did my work there, and I got to the end, and I actually was working alongside Craig McRae, obviously now Collingwood coach.
Legend.
Anyway, I was with Fly, and I said, thanks so much for the time with you and Jade Rawlings at the time, and Choco, and I said, if there's anything, you ever need, I'm all, I'd love to help out. Anything that you want. Anyway, I literally remember the day because he called me the next day, and he said, love to have you in. Do you want to come back and do some stuff? Because we need some help with the player development, and I was like,
Sorry, was that Craig McRae that called you? Right.
So I was like, yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. So I literally from that day onwards, and that was 17 years ago. That was 2006 or 7, end of 2006 into 2007.
Incredible.
So from that it was just amazing. I just sort of spent time with Jade Rawlings and Craig McRae, and helped out with some filming of players, doing some projects with different individuals. I saw Jack Rewalt walk through the door the first year, and you see, Koch and Grimesy and Dave Asprey, Alex Rance. And you sort of see these young guys coming through and what they did to develop. And, I pinch myself every day, walk in that club, and I still pinch myself to this day. And I'm a 41-year-old man walking in, and I'm still starstruck by the people that you're around, the coaches you're around, the experience, the club itself is just an amazing place.
Fair to say, but you've witnessed a dynasty, mate. You've been in amongst a dynasty.
Yeah, and you look at and I saw obviously where Terry Wallace was the coach, and then he lost his job, and then Jade Rawlings took over, and I saw that evolution. And then, I was working out at Coburg when we were affiliated with Coburg in the VFL.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember
Coburg days, and freezing, wet, muddy ground, middle of winter, and then to see what we've got now, and obviously 3 premierships later, and DAMIAN Hardwick is just an incredible coach, and what he's done to that club, and the people in that club that make it such a special place to be. And I always talk to everyone about, they say, what's so good about the club? And the best thing about it is that you can walk into that club and be yourself.
Right, okay.
And no one judges you.
That's great.
You're not judged, you're there, and I think it's one of the most amazing places to go to. And I did it for the first, I think it was 7 years. I didn't even earn any money.
Yeah.
And it's not, you're not there for that. You're there because of
the experience.
Opportunity.
I wanted to get better as a coach. I wanted to learn. I felt the people around me would help me get better. And then, to see that sort of evolve over time, and now, being the midfield coach in the VFL, and I've gone through different roles in that time, but just amazing place.
What was the role when I was at Werribee? When we kept having those little meetings in the little ground every time Werribee played Richmond?
That's right. Yeah, so back...
That was a few years there.
So I went from basically, I was like doing some development stuff with Fly and Jade, and then it went into basically I was a bench coach for a while.
That's right.
So I did sort of director of coaching, helping the coaches sort of thing through that. And that was really cool. I enjoyed that. I was sort of the link between the head coach on the bench and the coaches up in the box. So kind of linking the messaging, sort of relaying the coach's message to the top and vice versa, and relaying the message to the runner, making sure they understand clearly what was going to happen. And that was really good. And had a director of coaching or coaching sort of a lead coaching role where I sort of helped out the coaches and was helping them with their development, sort of the younger coaches, which was good fun. And I went to backs coach for a while, for a year or two, and then now into mids coaching for the last 3.
Amazing.
And,
Have you made a lot of friends, like as in player friends? Like have you become close with the VFL or AFL?
Oh, both. Yeah, I think to be able to call a lot of them friends is actually pretty amazing. Like even Trent COTCHIN was fantastic in the fact that I sent him a message, was October last year, and I said to him, we've got our national championships coming up, like I said before, the story. I want you, if you've got time, can you announce our captains? Even come into our, into our team meeting at the whatever. And he said, I can't get there, but I'll do a video. So he's done this whole video.
Brilliant.
Talking about what leadership meant and captaincy and what it meant to him and how it grew him and evolved him as a human. And then he announced the captains, and the kids were just
loving that.
Yeah, and I feel like those relationships that you make and
priceless.
When I went through some health issues a few years ago, Dimmer rang me, and just things like that where you've got people that have got you back, and the club has got you back.
I know it's probably you've been asked this, but what about the 5th greatest player of all time? Do you talk to him?
The 5th greatest.
He's in the top 5 anyway.
Oh, Dustin.
Yeah,
Dustin.
He's
man of
and I cannot,
not many
not
words.
Many words, but I can say it looks. I mean, and I don't have conversations with Dustin at all.
Yep.
But from what you see and how he is around the club, he's a leader in action, and you see that, and the way he acts around the club and professionalism, and gets the job done, and doesn't say much from what I've seen, but he's just an amazing role model for a lot of the young players coming through, and
the kids lose their minds as well.
Imagine a young kid, you're 18 and you get drafted and you walk in and you're training with Dustin.
That's
Martin.
right, straight away.
Just amazing.
And look, not everyone leads the same way.
No, 100%.
Some are vocal, some are, Dustin Martin's one example.
Yep.
Joel Selwood's another example, leads by example, in the footy world.
Yeah.
And then you've got your vocal, who aren't the best footballers, but
Jonathan
good
Brown.
leaders.
Correct.
Well, not necessarily Jonathan Brown, but
the different type.
Yeah, there's different types in every sport, really.
And you need everyone playing a role, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's different players that will play roles, and you'll have leaders in each line, and they might be more vocal, but also they might be role models in terms of their behaviours and actions. So you need that, and you need a diverse
of course,
group of leaders and people.
Depending on the type of kids you draft, depends on how they want to be led too. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I mean, I know they've got to adapt to what, say, Richmond do,
Yep.
but you still got to give and take a little bit on them as well.
No,
like what's good for them,
You do, and like the club itself is amazing because they doesn't matter where you are in the club, whether you're doing the boots, the property, the medical team, they're all great people. And it's a matter of getting good people, and you can teach skills.
So
That's what builds
important.
clubs.
You can teach skills. Like anyone that wants to get better at something, you can teach that. I think the hardest thing is getting a great human being to walk into your club to make your club better, and that's kind of what we've got at the club. Is we've got great people, and they're all skilled. Don't get me wrong, but they're amazing people.
I know what you mean.
Almost,
yeah.
You know, so and that's I think that's the biggest thing.
So, you've been a lifelong Collingwood supporter.
Yeah.
How does Richmond
Oh,
affect
yeah, this is
your
interesting.
love for the Pies?
Oh, no, it's funny because even the boys at the club know that I'm a Collingwood supporter, and we're all got our clubs that we support.
Yeah.
You know, the big thing for footy for me is Collingwood is my link with my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
That's
like
yeah.
that. And you've all got family and stuff like that. And it's my link with my daughter. My oldest daughter's Collingwood, and she's like full on, loves it, knows every player.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
And she just loves it. And it's like, well, that's my link with her.
Does she love the date guy?
Who's that? Date guy.
The date guy.
Oh, she's, you know, her favourite's Jeremy Howe. So
Right.
how he knows that we took me to her birthday to his house for her birthday. He actually agreed to, through my AFL role, I work in the AFL coaching department as a coach educator. And Howie was one of our participants last year in the level 3, and I sort of helped mentor the group, and then I emailed him, and my daughter got to meet him on her birthday and stuff. So that was pretty cool. Talk about contacts. There you go.
Yeah. That's right. That's exactly my point.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, like being a Collingwood fan, like, you know, it's my connection to family. So it's strong for me still. It's still a heart thing, and it's still there. But you know, it doesn't affect anything I do in terms of coaching. Like that.
No, of course not. Yeah.
You know, I actually still bleed yellow and black as well. So, you know, I think that's an important part.
Off the record, so when they play each other, you're not going to give me anything. But
No, I'm not going to say too much. I actually try and sit away from everyone. I just sit at home and watch it generally.
We'll just cut this here.
No, it's hard to watch, and it's actually, well, it's good to coach against Collingwood because I know them so well. So I kind of I pipe up in the meetings a lot more. And
okay.
Say it. But it is a little bit easier when you're coaching against them.
just want to say one. So Craig McRae, like, we've seen what he's done in 2 years, right? Like, what was he like? Like, did you learn a lot off him? Or
Yeah, he's
obviously you did.
Yeah,
But
I think he's probably, along with Michael Baroque, probably the greatest influence on my coaching ever. Like he's, you know, even he got the Collingwood job a couple of years back, and when he got the job, 3 weeks later, I was going for a job at Tennis Australia at the time, and I had to do a presentation. Anyway, I'd spoken to him about the Collingwood job, gave him a call, said, well done, really proud of you, you've done, you know, amazing job, and thanks so much for everything you did for me, and I hope you go well.
Brilliant.
Anyway, he's gone, how are you going? Like, he always asks how I'm going. He doesn't speak about himself, it's always about you. And I said, I'm actually going for a job at Tennis Australia. And he said, oh, you know, what do you have to do? And I said, I have to do a prezzo. And he said, oh, let's catch up. So I had breakfast with him that week. He just got the Collingwood job. And we're sitting in this cafe, and he's talking to me about how to put a presentation together, how he did it with Collingwood. And, you know, he's just such an amazing person. Like, and, you know, he cares about you. Like, he just wants you to be happy. And that's, I mean, I owe him everything in footy. So,
I was just going to say one because watching him, like, on the boundary line, or just watching him, I mean, obviously I don't know the inner.
Yeah.
But you can just tell he's like that.
It shows,
as silly as it sounds, I know it sounds a bit silly thinking, how do you know?
No,
yeah, you're right.
sense.
And the things I'm watching it, I'm thinking, this bloke cares about his players. This bloke cares about how the club's operating. This bloke cares about how they play, whatever it is. He just cares. You can tell. And what you're telling me now, I'm just thinking, exactly how I think. I don't even know the guy.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, it's funny because not funny, I got sick in 2020, and then he found out about it, and he found out through someone at the club. I hadn't spoken to him in weeks. I was going through a bit. He found out through someone at the club and rang me straight away. Literally rang me straight away. I didn't answer. I don't know what I was doing, but I couldn't answer.
Probably sick.
Yeah, it was probably. Yeah, I was probably getting some
More than
things
likely.
done. And then he left a voicemail, and then I called him back the next day, and then he sort of said, "Mate, I heard everything." He goes, "I'm here for you. What do you like? Can I do anything for you?" Like just that kind of.
See what I mean?
And he was at Hawthorn at the time, and you know didn't have.
That's
to
what
do
footy
it.
clubs, organisations, tennis
do.
organisations,
Strong
that's
ones.
what it does.
Strong ones,
Yeah.
that's
That's what it
correct.
does. It's great to be involved in it.
Yeah.
We've all been involved in
Yeah.
them, and
Correct.
good and bad. But it's
amazing.
It's just
You don't fluke success, right? And Fly's
No.
getting some amazing success on
yeah.
the back of
Yeah.
what he does and who he is. You know,
Yeah.
like it's incredible how he brings people together.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Togetherness means success,
that's right.
doesn't it, really?
Phenomenal.
Like
Yeah.
if you're all scattered everywhere, you're not going to get much
That's
success
right.
out of that.
Yeah,
That's right.
what he did for Richmond, I think, will, you know, it was amazing. His footprint at that club, he's still there.
He's still there,
You know,
yeah.
So it's amazing. Yeah.
is
I've got a question for Ange.
It's all about Mark today.
Oh, I know, but this one ties
one for Mark?
it in. All right. How does it feel sitting with 3 Braybrook legends?
He's an idiot. He's an idiot.
Braybrook Football Club.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Play the Braybrook.
All of 2 games.
3 Hall of
Barry
Famers.
Priest is not here, but that's okay.
Barry Priest medal, mate.
Who?
Barry Priest
Barry
actually
Priest.
owns the medal.
Yeah.
Well, this is the biggest legend of all, though. Dougie, isn't it?
How does it feel?
Ted
Braybrook
Whitten.
are in Division
Ted Whitten.
2. I don't feel anything.
Because we're not there anymore. That's why.
I think we were in 3, man.
Yeah, you might be
That's
right.
right.
Since we left.
Jeez.
Talking about Braybrook, I used to sit with his dad sometimes watching the
the
game.
game?
Abusive.
He'd have a shot from the kiosk, and his old man. All due respect, Mark.
Yeah, blinkers.
I watched you boys a few times.
Yeah. Would have been hard to watch.
It was just fun, mate. I've got to ask you one more question about Braybrook, Mark. How'd you get the nickname Supernidis?
That was actually interesting. That's a good. We used to look at the newspaper every week to see who got
The
the
old
best,
school,
yeah?
the
The
old
old
school.
school.
would,
It was
mate.
actually, believe it or not, it was online.
That's right.
And you came
Still is.
here.
That's right.
Yeah, but like back then, online
then.
was a big
Yeah.
thing, right?
It was huge.
So you came here
That's right. I
because
did
we
too.
were going out or doing something.
Yeah.
Go,
Yeah,
continue.
and then I don't know how they spelled my name, but it was like Super Needy.
Yeah.
Supernidis.
Best players or goals, and it's like Supernidis.
I was like, I think that's me, but maybe it's not. I don't know.
They qualified him twice.
Yeah, and that's it. Supernidis it is.
Actually, you know what the funniest one was? We actually didn't know who this one player was that kept coming up. Flahiv, remember?
Oh,
We used to call this guy Bluey, and
Yeah,
I had
nicknames.
no idea what his name was the whole time.
Yeah, right.
Bluey on the whiteboard, it was Bluey,
Yeah.
it was Bluey
Bluey.
everywhere. And then
Who's this
Flahiv,
bloke?
M. Flahiv kept getting the best. And I was like, do you actually know who this guy is? He goes, I have no idea. We had to ask at the club, and we had to find out who he was.
You would have freaked out, going, "What's that?"
Yeah, who
It
is
was
this player?
Yeah, it was
That is
pretty
brilliant.
funny, but yeah, back in the old days, eh?
Yeah.
Any more Braybrook? We want to get it all out.
Yeah,
get it
no,
all out
we're
now.
just getting it out.
It's funny how we asked you about your career and how it started when you went to Richmond training
Yep.
with Choco. And you mentioned a little bit earlier about Google and kids and all that, but you Googled what time training was on, so Google got you too.
Yeah, got me. Mate, Google gets us all.
Works.
Does,
So
mate.
it actually worked.
But isn't it
Does.
funny though how it's changed and evolved? Like Google and the evolution of the instant gratification. Like
Oh,
kids
yeah.
these days
Yeah.
will just go, I need to find something. Whereas we had to find out. We had
Yeah.
to go. I had to go there and
Yeah.
find
Yeah,
out for
correct.
myself.
That's right.
You know? And until you learn to do that as a young kid, and I try and teach my kids, you've got to go and ask. Go and speak to people. Don't just sit there and expect it to happen. You've got to go and do
Don't
it.
text me
Absolutely.
from across the room.
Yeah, exactly right. They're
Well, the
sitting next to
fun-
each other and they're Snapchatting each other.
But like you said, you want to know what time training was. You'd have to ring. You'd have to go pick up
Yeah,
your
yeah,
phone.
in those days,
Yeah.
No, pick up your phone and ring up the
Yeah,
club, whatever, and go,
yeah,
what time's
exactly.
training?
Yeah,
when
that's
are they
right.
training? Whatever.
Yeah, it's
You had to
amazing.
make an effort. It's
Yeah.
called effort.
Yeah,
I
it
agree
is.
with you, Mark.
It is.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I'm a strong believer in if you want something, go and get it. And
Oh,
you did.
100%,
If you
yeah.
didn't go down to Richmond that day, you wouldn't be where
Who
you
knows
are
where I'd be
today.
sitting
Yeah,
today?
exactly.
And I think
Yeah, your
like,
destiny.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Make your own destiny.
You could have been North AFL coach.
Hey, I could have been at North. I went down there.
We
and-
could have been working together.
Yeah,
in
could
that
have been.
era.
Mate, imagine that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, how things change. And
Unbelievable.
like,
Would
yeah.
you have got abused as much as you got abused? Didn't Brett Scott abuse
Oh, he would have got just as much. Don't worry about that.
No,
And
it's-
Danny
it's-
Laidley
it's-
would have got abused
Absolutely.
horrendously.
But it's funny how it evolves. Like, I actually I was at Richmond right the way through. And then in 2016, I won't say which club, but myself and a few others from the Richmond Footy Club got hunted to go to another club. And I was like, well, no, I'm bleeding
You're
yellow
happy
and
at
black.
Richmond,
Like,
yeah,
I love
yeah.
it there. And I love the people there. And, no matter how much money they threw or whatever the role, I actually said, no, I want to be at Richmond. And I stayed there in 2016. We had an ordinary year. And then obviously 2017,
happened.
2020,
Yeah.
that 4-year block was incredible.
Where they end up at 16? Ninth.
Went
Ninth.
average
Ninth.
yeah.
Oh, is it just
Got
ninth?
whacked by Sydney
Where
that
was
last
it?
round.
Just
20
a question. Where was it? I know this is getting a bit off it. Where was it when they were going to get rid of Dimmer or Damien Hardwick?
I reckon it was that
2016.
year, 2016.
2016.
But they came ninth. They didn't really.
Well,
Yeah, but they came
had a
ninth.
bad
they were
finish.
building,
Yeah.
We're building like from 2014, 15, and then into 16 was probably a year that
They expected.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think on the back of your biggest failures, and I don't see them as failures, but
I know what you mean.
Like
development.
You learn so much, right? And we learned a lot about ourselves at the club, and Dimmer speaks, openly about it, and Trent COTCHIN spoke about his captaincy at that time and how they needed to evolve, and if you don't, from those failures, you don't get anywhere, right? So I think it's it's an amazing achievement what they achieved after that 2016 year.
You go.
Oh no, it's going to getting off a little bit. Talking about Trent COTCHIN. You probably know my cousin is very close to Trent COTCHIN. He's at the club all the time. I don't know. Do you know people that hang around the club and into coterie groups and stuff like that?
Oh, you see them around, but I wouldn't.
Oh, you wouldn't know. Oh, that's all right. No, because I'm saying because they're talking about Trent COTCHIN. He's
a ripper.
Yeah, easy.
I want to ask you how COVID fatigue went. Did you go up through
COVID fatigue?
Yeah, how did it go? And
it was
like with going up to Gold Coast and doing all those away. How did it go internally?
Well,
winning the flag ultimately.
Yeah, so we as a VFL group, we started the season and then, we didn't. We were reigning premiers in 2019 in the VFL. And then 2019, we got to round one and then it shut down. At round one. So then basically everything was done for us. So we didn't have to do anything.
So you didn't do anything
have to go
AFL level?
Didn't have to do anything. The club obviously went and did what they did. And
JobKeeper.
Yeah, that's it. And then...
incredible.
Yeah, but then 2021 was similar. It was a really challenging year and I felt that was really hard for a lot of people.
I want to touch on these boys probably... I want to touch on VFL footy and the competition and where it's at the moment because I think it's really teetering on the edge of falling over.
Yeah, extinction. I don't
know if that's the word, but 22 teams. You're playing some teams twice. You're playing some teams not at all.
Not at all.
I couldn't believe it was that. Sorry to cut you off. I was looking at the ladder the other day just because I wanted to see it. Have a look, and I'm like 21 teams.
Yeah.
Is that because the NEFL and all that have come into the VFL?
That's
or
right.
some of those teams?
Do you think there should be an AFL reserves competition ultimately?
Do I think? Well, again, much smarter people can make that decision. But I think at the end of the day, I think it looks like it's heading that way. And I don't know the ins and outs of it. Have no idea. But you would think that for the competition, both AFL and AFL reserves, but going back to that, and then having its own standalone VFL,
third tier would be, wouldn't it?
Yeah, kind of competition. I think that looks like it's almost moulding into that, but without knowing, really.
Yeah, it's it is. It's rolling into it naturally, I guess.
Yeah, naturally. And look, I think it's amazing to be able to play, the Brisbane Lions. We're going up in a couple of weeks' time. We'll play GWS over there, and we're going to go and play Southport up there as well. And to play these teams and give our young VFL boys who are not AFL listed an opportunity to travel as a professional player for a day or two. I think that's a great thing for the competition, and it's a great thing for development of athletes. And but at the same time, I mean, it is hard because it's an 8-team final series with a 21 or 22 team competition.
Yeah.
So I think that has its own challenges as well. So, last year we missed out on percentage.
That's right.
Okay.
So challenging. I think this year there's now a wild card.
Yep. There's a wild
which
card.
has come into play. So I think you get to play off for a wild card or something like that, which is going to be interesting. I have no idea how it's going to work, but we'll find out if it gets to that point.
VFL Bulls on the run.
Yeah.
Talking about VFL, so if you get players that come from AFL down to VFL, say with you guys, is it a different tact when you're talking to them? Is it a different mindset? Do you know what I mean? What I'm trying to say, like VFL.
Different language, I guess. Maybe.
Yeah, like you have to be different in the way you approach it.
Yeah, it is.
Or do you take direction from the senior coach? Or
that's what I meant, sort of.
Yeah, so our job as VFL line coaches is probably to continue to keep the message consistent and making sure that whatever's being said during the week, we're aware of, that we can pass down to the AFL listed boys to ensure that the messaging isn't any different, that we are, and as a coach and over years, you sort of ask questions rather than tell them. I mean, these guys are full-time professional players that know more than we do, right? So, as a part-time coach, you're like, okay, well, their information is going to be a lot stronger than mine, but my ability to get the best out of them, I need to ask questions, bring them to the conversation, allow them to show their strengths, allow them to do that. And compared to a VFL player who might not have the full-time coaching, that you've got to then develop them during the week, and then on game day, you're still teaching as well as coaching.
Let's not forget the VFL player is a plumber, and he's a tradie, and he's a school teacher, he's an accountant.
Exactly
Well, that's exactly what I was saying. What I meant, like, is it's just the way you got to tackle it. That's what I meant.
Yeah, it's very different. And you got a lot of AFL listed players that, they're not going to want to be playing VFL footy. They want to be playing AFL footy. So it's our job to get the best out of them and to help them.
Give them the opportunity.
We give them an opportunity to be the best version of themselves on a daily basis. And and to pump them up and to give them opportunity and to put them into roles as a team that are going to give them a chance to be picked.
Yeah. You speak like a coach.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
You speak like a coach.
His language has got me mesmerised. That's why I reckon I'm just listening, I'm watching it.
Could we have the next AFL coach?
Oh, no.
Jeez.
I'm a long way off from that.
Clarko's only got 4 years left.
Let's change tact again. Back to tennis. And how far do you want to take your tennis coaching?
Interesting. I've already had one hip surgery. And I'm probably going to get another one. But, physically it's a challenging job. So now with 3 kids, unless you want to, you're either travelling full-time as a coach on the tour road, or you stay back here and you coach and develop a lot of players. And that's kind of where I'm at now is I've done the travel stuff. I've worked with some great players and I've been fortunate to do that. But now it's like, well, I've got a family.
All right.
Yeah.
So you parked that.
Yeah.
What's next then on these amazing chapters? It's an incredible...
it's a good question. I love coach education.
You got a biography coming out or something?
Well, I've half
It'd
written,
be magnificent.
So
how good would that be?
Yeah, that's...
Because that leads into footy coaching as well.
Well, that's my question was going to be. Do you want to be would you want to be an AFL coach? Is that in your thoughts?
Well, it was in my thoughts at the end of last year, actually. I nearly went down that pathway and went full-time into AFL coaching. I thought of it. I wanted to do it. I was like, gee, maybe it's time now. My body's packing up.
Yeah.
Maybe that's time for me and it's maybe a way to go down the path of. I decided against it purely because I've got a website that I've been developing for 6 years.
Give it a plug.
The tennis menu. It's an online coach education for tennis mainly, but it'll go into other sports eventually.
We'll link that down below in the description for you.
Yeah, so that's kind of been my passion, is to develop coaches. I do it for Tennis Australia. I'm a coach educator for TA and done that for 16 years. And AFL have employed me for the last 3 as a coach educator. And now I've got my website, which is doing the same thing. So that kind of is my drive and my passion. And I love... someone actually said to me, if you leave tennis, which I was going to do at the end of last year, as a mentor of mine, what happens to your IP?
Yeah, right.
And it's true. Like, well, you're right. I actually take the IP with me, and tennis then suffers. Right. But tennis for me has been something that has given me a life. So it's like, well, I need to give back to the game before I get out of the game. Yeah. So the website for me was a matter of getting myself to give my IP to everyone, no matter what I know, and whether you agree with it or not. Here's what I've learned. Yeah. Here's what I've done. Here's what I love about coaching. Here's what has worked for me. Here's what's given us a Grand Slam win or whatever it might have been. Have it, take it, and then I'll feel satisfied. If I want to get out of the game, I've left my IP behind.
Yeah.
So that's kind of...
that's more than fair, and that's pretty noble. That's
your AFL level coaching. Are you level 3?
Yeah, level 3.
4's AFL. Sorry, 5's AFL? 4's AFL.
4, yeah. So, and that's...
You can't get level 4 without being an AFL coach. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So
how did you find that? The actual studying?
I loved it. I think if you want to be a good coach or successful, you've obviously got to want to study the game and want to study coaching and learn as much as you can. I'm a big believer that, we don't stop learning until you die. So, just keep growing and learning and put yourself around people that can help you get better and make you uncomfortable as well. And I felt the course made me uncomfortable. Yeah. And that was really good. And,
Level 1 didn't for me.
No.
Level 1.
You probably need to go another step for that. But I actually did my level 3 with Trav Cloak, Brett Stanton, these sort of guys who have been in footy for a long time, and just their knowledge of the game. Luke Ball, and we had great conversations. And those conversations I feel maybe better. And I'm like, well, that for me, I'd love to do more education.
When it comes to going that far, level, did you say 3 or 4? 4 is it?
4 was the last one, yeah.
So psychology come into it a lot more.
Yeah.
Say, no disrespect to level 1 or 2. You know what I'm getting at. When you get to level 4, you have to go that next echelon where psychology plays a big part in the way you coach and the way you talk to players and so forth.
I think qualifications and levels aren't the standard that you coach at, and they're just a certificate for me. It's the ability for a coach to be able to connect with anyone, the ability to get the best out of someone.
True.
So it's psychology. Everything is psychology. Yeah, everything that we do is psychology. If I give a message, it's because I want the best out of someone. So it's like, how do I get the best out of them? Do they need to be yelled at?
Yeah.
Or are they going to cry from it? Or do they need some like TLC? It's kind of like the ability to do that and to get the best out of someone. And, there's one girl that I coach in tennis who responds to me absolutely going at her.
Yeah.
And if I don't, then she's not her best version. But then there's a boyo coach, same age. If I did that, I'd get nothing in response.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of like, it's all psychology is how you deal with
That's
people.
what I mean by psychology. It just plays a big part in everything, doesn't it, really? Sport, especially when you think about it.
I guess, sorry, mate, I guess back in, like, even overseas in Europe, the coaches are called managers.
Yeah.
Because they manage people.
Yeah, it's true.
Right?
You go Premier League or not, they're called managers. Yeah,
yeah. A lot of the soccer leagues
so
and all that, they're managers, right? Because they manage people.
Yeah.
They don't actually coach tactically.
Yeah.
They leave it to others.
Yeah.
And,
And that's the thing.
Is that similar to AFL?
It is. Well, someone said to me, "How do you coach two different sports like tennis and AFL?"
Took a question away.
Yeah, and I get
Just
that.
about to ask you.
I always get that, and it's one of the most common things. You coach footy. What do you do? Fitness? No, I coach the line. Like I coach the midfield, right? And they go, "Well, how do you do that?" Well, you're coaching people.
Yeah.
Nothing's changed.
They're human beings.
That's right.
Yeah.
Nothing's changed. I'm still coaching a human being. It's just a different sport.
And different,
Right?
yeah.
So language might change, and strategy might change, but you're still trying to get the best out of a human being. So
So you could coach lawn bowls, in other words, as well, if you could.
100%.
It's true.
But the thing is, like, you let people who know more about it, like the players themselves,
Educate you to a point.
it's amazing having walk into Richmond and you had a midfield one day of Samson Ryan, Jack Ross, Thompson Dow, and you got these guys that are full-time athletes. Tyler Sonzi, Hugo Ralph-Smith's playing off a wing, and you're like, what am I going to say that's going to get better from
fair
that?
enough, yeah.
They've got that, but it's like, well, how do we then connect it to make sure that we play the best team footy? That's where it's different. Like, it's like, well, they're people, though. They're
So-
human beings.
Tyler Sonsi's got some good ability, both sides of his
All
body,
of those
mate.
ones that you mentioned look like they can be good players. I was going to ask you, so having said what you just said, you probably can't answer this question. The $1 trillion AFL question.
Yeah.
Why do AFL players miss from 20
let's
metres
not go
straight in front?
We've been on about this.
I've got a theory.
It's mental.
but-
It's mental.
I don't. Everyone's different, right? Everyone misses for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everyone's going through the yips at times, and everyone goes through different. I mean, I remember when Jack Rewalt was struggling early in his career.
that.
Yeah.
Like, really early in his career. He's one of the most beautiful kicks for goal.
Yeah.
The ability and the skill cannot go away. You know, like it can't. If you've got a skill, I always say it to the kids I coach. If you can go out and serve unbelievably well in practice, but you can't serve in a match, that doesn't mean you can't serve. It means you can't handle the pressure of what the match is giving you.
Correct.
Right?
Brilliant.
So
Perfect.
It's a closed skill, right? So if I can kick for goal in training, nothing changes apart from now there's a crowd. Now if I miss, it's on social media, and the commentators are going to rip into me, and the crowd are going to rip into me when I walk. And if I go down the street to get a coffee, it's going to happen.
All those variables.
Right? So you're dealing with not just the kick for goal.
It's true.
You're dealing with a lot of that. There's other elements that I feel have changed. The footies have changed.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
yeah.
Really? In what way?
Footies have changed. I think they're a lot.
They're
they slippery.
Slippery, yeah.
And
They're slippery,
yeah, and the brand new footies, I reckon, are hard to kick.
Pointy.
Yeah,
Really?
real pointy. And that's I'm not giving an excuse to anyone, but
It's different.
it's an impact, right? Environmental changes are different.
They should go back to the coloured plastic ones.
And Ross Walters.
It's no excuse for anybody because you look at guys like Dunstall, Lockett. These guys kick beautiful footies, right?
In the wind, in the rain.
How many goals a week did they
One
kick?
football they used all the game,
Yeah.
whether it was
That's
or whatever.
incredible.
And it's very different, but I can't answer the question for individuals, but a skill cannot be lost. And if you're in the AFL, you know how to play.
Yeah, that's right.
You go.
That's true.
So why don't they replicate those conditions then more often at training, you know?
Oh, they try.
Because it's that important, I think,
Yeah, I
right?
agree.
Like, we don't kick 50 goals a game. We kick anywhere from 10 to 20, right?
Yeah.
And I just think it's the hardest skill to master, right? And I think we should be spending more... you know more than me, but I think that we don't spend enough time mastering those goal-kicking skills.
Yeah. I think to answer your question, it's an interesting one. You look at, and you would have seen Ange, you look at players warm up at every club, every AFL club, every VFL club, every local club. When a player gets their own time to kick goals, where do they kick them from?
Boundary line.
Yeah.
Right? Or they're 70 out and they're kicking torps and trying to be like. But how many people? And this is an old golf thing that I learned a little bit. The best golfers in the world when they warm up their putting is they put like a circle, a ring around like a 30 centimetre, and they put balls all around it. They get the 30 centimetre ones before they move outwards.
Right.
Right.
Right? Get the easy ones first.
So the simple,
Build your confidence
Work out.
and then work
Get
out.
your eye in sort of thing.
You know what?
Right?
Yeah.
And
Makes sense.
it's
Perfect.
like, but you look at a lot of AFL, VFL, and I just watch warm-ups and I'm like, well, you've got your own time out there. let's get the easy ones first, get the confidence, get the belief, and then build it from that. Now,
use that.
There's volume.
Using that on Saturday.
And just taking the left, like in video games, let's say, you always start off easy and it gets harder as it goes along, right? So you build your strength, confidence, whatever, right? So you just, and same with that, you know, as you just mentioned.
I was going to say, and you're right, because sometimes you're watching like Fox Footy and, you know, the warm-ups and you go, oh, well, he's kicked a banana. You think, why is he kicking it from 50 on the boundary? And then the commentator's going, oh, he was nailing them because no one's watching him.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the other thing. No one's watching him.
Yeah.
I'll just have a crack. No one cares.
Yeah, that's right.
I want to ask your opinion. I saw it Saturday night and seeing it a lot, and we all have kicked the snap shot.
No.
Yep.
I saw half a dozen blokes hit the belly of the ball and kick it 50 metres in the air.
Yeah.
Why? It's not why, because I know the question is, well, actually, it's not a question. What's your opinion on that? Why are blokes
not go drop
15
punts
metres out snapping balls?
Surely
it's a low percentage.
Yeah, not knowing the individual and what they're feeling behind why they're doing it. But I see it as and this is me personally, it's not an opinion of anyone else. This is my personal opinion, is when you snap a ball, you're actually opening the angle to then get back in. So no matter where you are on the ground,
coming back.
You're opening the goal face.
Yeah.
By the ball going out first, then coming back, it opens the goal face, right?
Gotcha.
So that's
that's the theory.
And that's the theory behind it. And even myself as a goal kicker, I used to love snapping the ball. Because I felt
Indoor
like I
footy.
could open
Saw him do it a lot.
Well, yeah.
There's another chapter we haven't spoken about.
but just
Stevie J started all that.
Makes total sense.
Yeah,
Get you.
That's just my take on it.
But they just don't execute it. I understand the theory.
Yeah,
makes total sense what you're saying. But
if you can execute it,
they're not. Harry McKay.
Oh, that was
can't execute
horrendous.
them.
Yeah.
But then I guess, like, if you're trying to hit someone up on the lead, you don't kick it around
Snapshot.
the corner, right? You kick a drop punt.
Correct.
So a lot of players kick very well field kicking but can't kick a goal, right?
Yeah.
And then they go, you know, and we're specifically targeting Harry McKay because we all saw it Saturday night.
Yep.
But there's a lot of them. But yeah, it's frustrating to the average punter, you know.
Oh, it is, and you know, obviously, the biggest thing I always find though, and this is my coach's hat. You know, a player will never ever go onto the ground to purposely miss a goal.
No, of course not.
You know, and that's me. And I'm like, it's tough on him, and I reckon he'd be going through a lot in his own head, and it's a real challenge. But you know, I think, you know, I say it to my tennis players and to the parents. I'm like, the parent will tell me they're not playing well or they're struggling or how did they lose to so and so. They didn't go out to purposely lose, and they didn't go out to purposely play poorly. They just didn't execute and couldn't handle the situation. You know what? We've got to help them get better. We can't be ones to go at them. We're going to be the ones to support those players.
But you're right saying about the goal kicking. It's going back to the pressures. Of like, if I miss this, I'll go and get a coffee down the road. So-and-so's going to say, the crowd's going to give it to me, commentators are going to have a crack. Whereas if I'm just in the park there or at training, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And everyone will say, oh, you know, the local footballer down the road kicks better than
correct.
X, Y, and Z. And it's like, well,
no pressure.
3 people watching. You know, like the back streets of East
We can vouch for that.
Mate, we didn't even have 3.
Penal Reserve.
We couldn't even get a coach at times, could we?
Like Danny Kelly?
Yeah.
Well, you were all hunting in packs, didn't you?
No, just me.
Just him.
Oh, it was just him.
He was on his own. Yeah, hunting in his own pack.
But
funny. And that's the challenge of the day and age we live in is, you know, they'll film it, they'll put it on TikTok, and they'll rip into you.
Yeah.
And you know, you're ripping into the human. You're not ripping into the
That's
athlete,
right.
And that to me is a challenge. And I see tennis players go through it online with betting and so forth.
Yeah.
And, you know, these players are copying it more than they ever have because of what's available to them.
Why don't go on a work site and blokes go, look at you! Try and pick up that hammer! Oh, and then
It's true, though. The analogy
same as everyone's.
The analogy is correct.
That's true.
Yeah.
So, no, it is. It's a tough game, and it's a tough era we're living in.
It's a brutal era, I reckon. With social media, I reckon it makes it more brutal than anything, don't you think? I don't know.
Totally.
But it's not going to change, is it?
No, it's going to get worse,
It's
mate.
going to get worse.
Yeah,
It's
worse,
the ability
mate.
to deal with it, and that's you know, it's in anything in life. If you can, you know, it's not what you dealt, it's how you deal with it. So
Yeah.
for
It's
sure.
true. That's how you deal with what you dealt.
Yeah,
Correct.
absolutely.
Well, what an incredible interview. I think we just touched the surface on that, on a bloke that's incredibly focused and he's determined and he's got it all mapped out from the age of 16 and he's on his way to continuing that way. So, look, thanks for taking your time out in your busy schedule to be here with us, and maybe, who knows, there might be a part 2. But we're so rapt to have had you here.
No, thanks for having me, boys.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks,
good
mate.
Chat, good fun, and looking forward to coming back one day, maybe.
There's other things we could talk about from the past, but not on the table, eh?
Yeah, I think those can stay away for a little while.
That's it. Outtakes.
That was Marc Sophoulis.